Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition, and Redressal Act was passed way back in 2013. And this act was notified on 9th December 2013. And this act is to provide a safe and secure environment to women at the workplace. And this topic that we're going to listen to is very much relevant for all women workers working in government departments or offices or in unorganized sectors. And today, we are very fortunate in having resource persons whose name is Johnny Laleng Moya To Chong, LLM High Court Advocate. Let me introduce Laleng Moya. Anthony Laleng Moya To Chong first passed MSc Mathematics, and afterwards he got LLB degrees and LLM degrees. And he deals with various types of cases, including writ petitions, then appeals, revision, then reviews at the Gaudi High Court adjournments. And he also deals with various types of cases, such as motor accident cases and all types of civil and criminal cases. And today, we are going to listen to such an important lecture from Johnny Laleng, who has a vast experience in legal administration. And now I'll invite Johnny Laleng Moy To Chong to speak on the topics. Now, the time is for you.
Sir, am I audible?
Oh, yes, you are audible.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me for this evening as a speaker on the relevant topic of the sexual harassment of women at workplace. By the way, I'm not a good speaker and I'm a good listener. I know that I will not meet your expectation, but being a learned advocate, so we are going to study together this relevant topic. And my presentation will be in English, but will be explained in the vernacular language so that everyone will understand this important topic. So let me share my screen. So is it visible?
Oh, yes, visible.
So sexual harassment at workplace is considered violation of women's right to equality, life and liberty. With this idea, the legislature formulated Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. And the same was imposed in Mizoram in the month of April 2014 under strict guidance till date. Instead of focusing on the legal grounds, let's turn our attention towards awareness as to why we should keep ourselves updated and always make sure to remember the severity of the punishment under this act. Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act 2013. Under Section 2 Sub subclause N says that sexual harassment includes any one or more of the following unwelcome act or behavior, namely, number one, physical contact and advance. Number two, a demand or request for sexual favors. So, and number three, making sexual color remark or showing pornography and any other unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. So hemi chungcha nga hianin mizo tawin kanan soi chun zomanga ikan kia ta na poi mo mai chu I he thi la hian sexual he thi la hianin a victim ate hi mi pa ani tlang pui ta ni ta chuanin me chen ta na dan siam kan ti rual hianin a victim ate hi mi pa an ni thina wangin apikin mi pa te tan ngai poi mo mangai ni tin helaya poi mo mai pakhat chu mizo te pe chu close community a om kan ni a chu wang chun kan in fiam na tam tak hi criminal case amount the thil tam tak kha om ta ni entina mania kan case pakhat helai district court kan trial chu han soi taila mi pakhat khanin achian nu kha amonga khan iwa khal ve ti paina lo beng zawani amai ro chu khanu ngai dan kha lo ni re reng lo maya ta chun complain an siam ta a kha amonga lo beng zaw tu ka fiam along ti tu kha shem ani ta ni zel banga zu ta poisa choi tir ani bok ta ni chu wang chuanin he thila hianin kan film kuna tur kha tam tak omani ti kha ikan soi tel le tu a ti chuanin achina kan muang khanin physical contact e more advanced tuna kha kan va khoi kher ani theya tin kan khoi lo poni theini demand e more request for sexual favors kan tia kan thia manga enge motia sms manga tute mo khatia ang mi pat me chiat na rong kai ang zong emo iwa khal ve hanin ti te iwa chelo ve hanin ti thil unwelcome statement shimshima kha he dan hianin angai poi mo ani chu mizo zinga po tuna case kan nei tamani ta ni voi kha chu zema bok lam sot lama son case pakhat kan nei ni ta chuanin khapa khanin anvenga leirol pakhat kha message lo thon thin ta ni message enge moza da thona ta chuanin khapa kha dan anga achunga shemnale ani ta ni ta chun mi kan lo tute mo mel tha kan lo ti a tute mo kan lo du ani po in film khur taka enge ni kan mangai thu kan sila kha poimo ni ti la ya kha poimo a kan va sila ten an lo du lo chuanin he dan strict tak noya hianin shemna kan ma chon theini ti kha kan ri ruwa om sela tin mi du lo chung me che du lo chung movie bol lo tak han en tir te khang te kha I dan ka tlatani ti kha he kan soi bu duni. So the next is the workplace. Workplace includes any department, organization, office, branch or unit which is established, owned, controlled or wholly or substantially financed by funds provided directly or indirectly by the appropriate government. And the workplace includes the Missouri University as well. And in any private organization, hospitals or nursing homes are also included as a workplace under the definition of workplace. Any sports institute, stadiums, sports complex or competition or games venue, whether residential or not used for training, sports or other activities relating thereto. Any sport institute, stadium, sports complex or competition, games venue, residential or not used for training, sports or other activities relating thereto. Any place visited by the employee arising out of or during the course of employment, including transportation by the employer for taking such journey. Hetilai hi apoi moletani. Arising out of or during the course of employment, tilai hi apoi molotukta. To Supreme Court ruling tam tak omtani. Entina employee kan lo nita Missouri University thok kan lo nita ta chuanin arising out of or during the course of employment kan ti hian kan office kal tur le kan office holam hi ahuwa mani chu kan hriat renga poimo khami chungchanga khanin entinan basa te po kan lo chuang theya basa kan lo chuana office kal tur emo kan ha thona official kan kalna tu kha ahuwa mani chu wang chung kha khan workplace ti hian ahuwa mani bas chunga tu te na momin lo tinom na emo enge motia kan lo omani chuan hedan hoi han shem thei an ni tia kha I hedan in asoi ani a chu during the course or arising out of the employment om se chuni chuan adota a dwelling place or a house chu chiang mai ome complaint of sexual harassment. Section 9 of the Act says any aggrieved woman may make in writing a complaint of sexual harassment at workplace to the internal committee if so constituted or the local committee in case it is not so constituted within a period of 3 months from the date of incident and in case of a series of incidents within a period of 3 months from the date of last incident, provided that where such complaint cannot be made in writing, the presiding officer or any member of the internal committee or the chairperson or any member of the local committee, as the case may be, shall render all reasonable assistance to the woman for making the complaint in writing. Provided further that the internal committee or as the case may be, the local committee may, for the reasons to be recorded in writing, extend the time limit not exceeding 3 months if it is satisfied that the circumstances were such which prevented the woman from filing a complaint within the said period. Hemi omzia chuan khati anga harsatna kan work kan ha tho na huna mo tu ten emo kan mei chiat za omna angzoma min lo fiam ani chuan complain akha kan siam theini chu a limitation period akha thathum chung ti ni a amar chu engemo wanga kan tilo ani chuan e thathum dang kha committee in min ngai na thiam theini ti na ani. So where the aggrieved woman is unable to make a complaint on account of her physical or mental incapacity or death or otherwise legal heir or such other person may be prescribed may make a complaint under this section. To me omzia chu kha harsana tok tu mei chia khan I complaint zia tur khanin an putena mo achunga harsana lo an lo thlen si a ta chun ani khan complaint asiam ngam lo ani po in I ama a legal heir kan tia achung te point an siam theini tin athian te po in ama ai o khanin an siam sak theini ti na ani achan chu antinan police department te lo ni ta se emosipai te lo ni ta ang se khanga te pe chuan an huemi te khanin an pu te laka complaint han siam te kha an lo ngam lo fo thin ani I bikin force anga te po chung ang alo ni po in an legal heir kan ti an chung te an legal representative ten an ai o in complaint an siam sak theya ani lo po in tu tene mo an mani ai o khanin an siam sak theni tunai lar de me chu Mizoram po MHEP ten an ai o ten ti khanin an ti saka tin tu tene mo sarkar department ta an ho tu te pon an ti sak pho thin ani. Ani le khoya nge victim chuan in complaint a file ang I employer te khan in workplace na china khan kan soita a khanga khan internal complaints committee ne na khan in kha an thon theini kan ti a ta chuan internal committee te kha misang sang presiding officer kha om turani a ta chuan in pechia ani turani a ti te ani a ti khan in a committee kha an siamanga kha ho ne na khan in I thelu turani John committee omza turte soya committee khachuanin not less than 2 members from among employees preferably committed to the cause of women tite ani a ta khanen a committee khachu tunei tu te siam turani John punishment la ya kha tuna antinan tunlai lar de mai chu engemo complain an mani atanga poisa du wanga complain siam te kha omvele tani chu he case apo hianin I ronda telani a hi atam em ani kan case pakata phe chuan apa kha pong sola pu ani ka fanuin win pong sola ni tia ta chuanin afanu pong sol apu kha thilra khak ta khani tin khotlang point mak an tia an dema content zo luai ni amai ro chu kha pa kha ko ta kan han trial ta a kan han riat chu le ta chu afanu kha lo khoi reng lo ni afanu khan do tin alo pu reng mai kha lo ni chu wang chuan in khatiang te kha hi thil om the ni chu tiang che chuan in khoi molaya te po mai che chen khat sual te lekin kan hne na tanga poisa an du wangin kan ti mi lo ti a min lo pu ve the ni chun chu i thil tam tak i lo thleng fo to tin na kin se la pola thleng the ni wangin e khang te kha ne kan ril ro om sela chu ngata na kan film khur na tura poimo em mai chu e kan film khur angai na em tura chu antinan ruma kan employee te zinga employee le employer chungchanga te e pahni cho om te kha himlu tuklo ni tu te mono om tel ve te kha i ahim fo trin tin cctv kan da mang te po in thil tam tak kha en the ni amaro chu he danina soi chu khatia anga meichia in complain an siamani chuan kha meichia complain siam tu kha antika ngai phot tur ti anita ni ta chuan i khatilaya khan case danga chuan thil dang anga tual tha kan ti te le khati ang ru kan ti ate chuan police te khan kan tinge ani ti kha beyond reasonable doubt under proof angai thina ni amai ro chu he case big mai chia te ding na chango chungchang ai chuan mai chia te kha thu dik soi turangai phot tur ti ani a ta chuan a victim ate khan kan dik nge ni ti ha kam proof thunga ngai ni chu ti lai ta chu har em thina iko ta po kan buaina mi tam ta dik nia in soi si ma se kan fin fia zo lo zel lama kan thon diam tak tam tak voi ni thleng nan omani chu wang chuanin kan dik na kam proof theina tur chuan ke mani po kan lo invent film khurlo ka kan mikom te kan in leng te ang mi ziangen ni ti te po kan lo hriat fia fo kha kan ti mak moni chọn nên chỉ là cần soi ang khanin mizo te chu kan society shim hi hetia han om dual han ti ho dual thin hi kan ni amai ro chu i khang ringu ta kha i chuan lama ting lo ani atlang puin na china kan soi angin a victim ate kha mi pa ani thina me chi han ko thuak te emo tin trong kam moi lo tak taka a fiam thu ma ni se han comment ang chi te kha i he dan hian in akhap tlatani i he dan hi me chi le no pangte digna chan vo hum hala turani miaw wang khanin emi pa ten kan hria hi poimo ni achan chu atuar tu tamzo ka hi emi pa kan hi tatani manilo ka central zela kan zukala ta chon mi pa tang tam takha i me chia te chunga leilen na wanga tang an ni a then chu pokso dan bo chiat wanga tang te tin tuna kan soilai mek sexual harassment of wanga tang te mi tam tak an omani chuwang chuan kan han zo khan a then chun ti tak po ka tum lo ka fiam alom an han tia amai ro chu kha chuan ma ting lo ani he danina soi chu physical contact kan ti he tia taksa wa in khoi ringot ni lo trong kam po kha a huama wangin he dan hoya hian shem thei kan ni tia kha kan dil ro om reng sela kan film kura kha kan ti ma moni bible in chan dam na thok chuak ro ati ang khan kan him na hi i kan tho chu kha kan ti ma moni ti kha kan ro om reng se tho ome chuan a shem na lam en taila IPC zanga zathum somnga le palina ena hianin hei ti hian ron define tha tam tak kan hunga a shem na po hi kum thum thleng lungin tan thei ti te tin anadana zirin until ti swal nat dan azir khanin a then chu kum kha chaw lungin tan thei ti te ni hei hi han soi tlang lo taila a then a yan rei deuh ta na ni a then a yan rei lo te ta na ni enge om je kan ti mai thei ni dan hi ziak tu pakhat chuan in jurist pakhat chuan a soya spring ang dewani ati spring po hi kan nem nat po le aron let le hi anathina chu tiang che chuan in thil sual po kan ti nat po le ashem na ni antia chuan a chiang ome a then kha chu kum thum te po khan tang te chen chu tharuk chuan tang theya anti sual dang khain ang lo ani a then chu tongka an han fiam chu awang kharin thathum te pon tang theya then chu kut thoan fiam awang khan kum ni te pon tang theini khalaya kha chu until ti sual dana zir khanin a inang lo ani kha kan soile chuna top na bera kan soidu chu hey Thomas Jefferson soi lar tak mai chu ignorance of law is no excuse in any country if it were the laws would lose their effect because it can always be pretended atini kashelo lom ti ka chuan lamatling lo ni ko ta kan har san tam bel criminal ko ta chonen kalau shelo ani kalau ruilu tu ka Kati lai kan ka fiam thu lom ti akhani tani amaro chu kha kha keimani sahimna turatan atop solo ni ti lai kha I kan ril ro om sela chuwang chuan kan film khur lo khan harsana tam tak kan tok theini I kan film khure ro chuan in keimani le kan chungte tan midang tan thil thatak kan ti theini ti kha kan soile du ni o kha zong khani thank you so much for today ka zong kha eka soi theini sela engemo kan auto ten tulang ti tak le so na om tak le kan na changa ni lo pon e kan how to te kuta unom le ro se kalome.
Thank you very much for your interesting and relevant lecture, and this is very much relevant. As you have said, because of ignorance, we cannot avoid punishment. This is what we have to know, and we men folk have to be very careful while we are with our female counterparts in workplace. As you have said, based on the case that you have tried, simply because of touching the buttocks of women, and that can amount to punishment. And now I'd like to request the audience to raise any query or make some comments on the lectures delivered by our resource persons. Is anyone? Yes or no? We are 35 participants, and is there any query from the? Oh yes, now there is one query. Let me read out this query from Dr. Senet Manal Himpuyi. How far has the government of Mizoram implemented the act? How far has the government of Mizoram implemented this act? That is the query from the audience. May I request our resource persons to respond to that?
Yes, sir. So regarding that, the law itself says that it comes into force on such date as the central government may by notification the official gazette appoint. So it extends to the whole of India since its inception. So it was implemented in a full swing. So there are so many cases and there are so many criminals who were convicted under these acts.
Oh, yes. I hope that is clear. Is any other query from the audience? I hope we'll be very inquisitive and come forward to raise the question. This is, to my understanding, for the protection of women in workplace. Meanwhile, the victims are menfolk, and even from the menfolk, there can be many questions to be raised or to seek clarifications. For example, if you simply say, "Oh, you are very beautiful," and if the way that lady or that teenager perceives my comment, the way she perceived my comment is in a negative way, that can amount to imprisonment. That's why it is very serious. Now there is I hope this is another question is, but most person does not know of the act. To what extent there is an awareness about this act? That is the query.
So regarding that, sir, earlier I have said that ignorant of law is no excuse. So we cannot make an excuse saying that I do not know this law, because the law is very clear. It was in the official gazetted, so we are deemed to know. So if we have some problem, then we cannot raise a defense saying that I do not know this law. So this is not a reasonable excuse. And regarding that awareness, Mizoram State Legal Services Authority, along with all the District Legal Services Authority, had organized a legal awareness campaign in a school, and this among the NGOs, among the MHEP, and at the church. So they tried their best.
Of course, yes. Those who are considered as responsible for the for giving awareness to the people, of course, they have done a lot, but we have to do some more in order to give awareness to the masses. Take, for example, even today, I guess, this is my guess or hunch only, even among the so-called educated people, there may be so many who do not understand the seriousness of this act or violation of this act. Therefore, to my simple understanding, we still have a long way to go in order to make the masses understand the implication of this act. Is there any other questions? Yes, there is one more. There is one question. Does any act perceived as having sexual intent that makes an individual uncomfortable be classed as sexual harassment? What are the actions identified as sexual harassment in workplace? Let me repeat. Does any act perceived as having sexual intent that makes an individual uncomfortable be classed as sexual harassment? What are the actions identified as sexual harassment in workplace? I hope the question is clear. Please unmute.
Yeah, yes, sir. This sexual harassment, as earlier I have put in my PowerPoint presentation. Sexual harassment includes this physical contact in advance, a demand or a request for this sexual favors, making sexual color remarks, showing this pornography, and any other unwelcome physical and verbal, unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal also it's included. So the law is very clear. So depending upon the offense the criminals had committed, their punishments are also different. And in that regards also, when the victims lodge a complaint, and based on the complaint, then which section is amounting to that offense, that also identified easily.
There is another query. Oh, no more. Yes, this law is to protect women from different kinds of sexual harassments. There are different types of sexual harassments. Take, for example, some 20 to 30 years back, there was one IPS officer whose track record in the service was second to none, and who was more popular than many of the IPS officers in one state. And one evening, there was a dinner organized wherein that IPS officer, maybe due to their close acquaintance, touched the buttocks of one IAS officer. And that one lady IAS officer took it very seriously, and she lost the complaints against that IPS officer. And ultimately, that IPS officer was declared as committing the crimes. and the lady was committed and she was declared the winner. She was acquitted. Okay. Then is there another query from the audience? I think there are no other questions, but while this act is to protect us, I have spelled out, to protect women in workplace. And there is also the determination of workplace, not only inside the office, even where we are committing the bus or vehicles. And then whatever ugly experience we had or we have in buses or vehicles, and that can also be categorized or classed as sexual harassment. Therefore, after listening to your lectures, there is a new line of thinking in my mind, and we menfolk have to be very thorough in this act. Otherwise, we may knowingly or unknowingly commit a crime. Therefore, it is very much necessary on the part of menfolk to make ourselves acquainted with this act. Otherwise, we may think that we are cracking jokes, but that may amount to imprisonment. That is what I. If there is no query from the audience, shall we conclude our webinar? Okay, then, yes, this program is not the program organized only by our university. This important program has been organized at the behest of Government of India. And Government of India expects each and every university and institutes to organize this type of important webinar. And even our university takes it seriously. That is why we are organizing this program now. And today, we are very fortunate in having Johnny Lalingmoy Tochong, who is a learned lawyer in the High Court. And we are very grateful to you for enlightening us on the sexual harassment of women at workplace, prevention, prohibition, and Redressal Act 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Johnny. Okay. Now our webinar is closed. Thank you very much for all the attendees.